We are gathered today to commemorate the tragedy of the Holocaust. Between 1939 and 1945, 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. Of these, 1.5 million were children. Who were they? Where did they live? What did they like to do? The Nazis tried to deprive them of their identity and turn them into faceless numbers during this great tragedy. In this ceremony, we will deal with the lives of the children prior to the Holocaust, and in this way, we will restore their identities.
May 30th, 1944. Dear Diary, we already know we can only take one knapsack for every 2 people. It is forbidden to take more than 1 change of underwear. No bedding allowed. Rumor has it the food is allowed, but who has any food left? It is so quiet here you can hear a fly buzz. Dear Diary, oh, I really don't want to die. I would live here even if it means I'll be the only one allowed to stay. I would wait for the end of the war in some cellar, on top of some roof, or even in some random cranny. I would even let the cross-eyed gendarme, the one who took our flour away from us, kiss me, just as long as they didn't kill me. Only that they should let me live. Now I see that the friendly gendarme has let Mariska come in. I can't write anymore. Oh, dear Diary, the tears run from my eyes. I'm hurrying over to Mariska.
Erica Amariglio from Salonika, Greece, wrote, "In 1924, my father, Salvatore Cuneo, then 24, already had a small shop where he sold photographic equipment. He acquired many good customers right from the start. In 1924, through a mutual friend, he met Hella Levy, a third-year medical student at the University of Leipzig. They fell in love at first sight, and my mother decided to abandon her studies and follow him to Greece. Mother, brought up in Vienna and Carlsbad in Austro-Hungary, suddenly found herself in a world totally different from her previous one. In the 1920s, Thessaloniki was really unlike the rest of Europe. Our house on Koromila Street was built by the sea. A most beautiful staircase led upstairs to the bedrooms. How many times my brother and I slid down the solid banister. Underneath in the basement was the coal cellar and the wood cellar. This served as our hiding place when we played hide and seek."
I'm a very tired, old and worn out man, and my eyes have long been blind. Most things that people say to me just seem to slip my mind. Oh, but the suffering and painful times that were in years long gone are still as clear upon my memory as the numbers on my arm. What will become of all the memories? Are they to scatter with the dust in the breeze? Who will stand before the world knowing what to say when the very last survivor fades away? When I hold my grandson close to me and his fingers trace the pattern of my tears, he asks me, "Grandpa, tell me, why do you cry? What is it that you fear?" And I tell him there once was another child who smelled as sweet and felt this warm, but he was taken from before my eyes, and only I remain to mourn. What will become of all the memories? dust in the breeze? And who will stand before a world that now wishes to deny? Or will they believe in someone who never heard the cries? Say or do to make things change. Time has a way of passing by so fast, and like a fleeting shadow, no one will recall the faces of the past. What will become of all the memories? Scatter with the dust in the breeze. Yet one thought gives me comfort. It's all that I have left. Oh, I know that God in heaven won't forget.
Daily life for children was disrupted with the German occupation. The circumstances and decrees varied in different countries, yet daily life as such continued. Children reacted differently to the changing circumstances depending on age, culture, and individual nature.
April 5th, 1944. Later, in the afternoon, on my way to Grandma Luja, I met some yellow-starred people. They were so gloomy, walking with their heads lowered. Still, I noticed Pista Vadas. He didn't see me, so I said hello to him. I know it isn't proper for a girl to be the first to greet a boy, but it really doesn't matter whether a yellow-starred girl is proper or not. Grandma Luja says she doesn't even care if she dies, but she's 72, and I'm only 13, and now that Pista Vadas spoke so nicely to me, I certainly don't want to die. April 7th, 1944. Today they came for my bicycle. I almost caused a big drama. I threw myself on the ground, held on the back wheel of my bicycle, and shouted all sorts of things at the policemen. Shame on you for taking away a bicycle from a girl, that's robbery! We had saved up for 1.5 years to buy that bicycle. One of the policemen was very annoyed and said, all we need is for a Jew girl to put on such a comedy when her bicycle is being taken away. No Jew kid is entitled to keep a bicycle anymore. The Jews aren't entitled to bread either. They shouldn't guzzle everything, but leave the food for the soldiers. You can imagine, dear diary, how I felt when they were saying this to my face.
Most Jews deported to Auschwitz were murdered in the gas chambers minutes or hours after their arrival. Eva Heyman and Moshe Flinker were two of those victims. Eva Schloss, Sila Lieberman, and Erika Armaglio survived the camps but lost their families, friends, and acquaintances. They lost a considerable part of themselves there too. Their individuality, their childhood, their innocence, and their faith in the world.
Dear Diary, today I turned 13. I was born on Friday the 13th. From Grandma Rock's, I got a light tan spring coat and a navy blue knit dress. From my father, I got high-heeled shoes. Until now, I've only ever worn flats. From Grandma Louisa, 3 pairs of pajamas and a dozen colored handkerchiefs and candy. From Grandpa, photograph records of the kind I like. My grandfather bought them so that I could learn the French lyrics. I know Hungarian and German as well. I've forgotten Romanian. And I'm beginning to be good in French. I do a lot of athletics like swimming, skating, bicycle riding, and exercise too. I also do arithmetics with Clary White's, but I don't care for that. Anyway, I've written enough today. You're probably tired too. Dear Diary.
It was pitch dark, and huge spotlights pierced the darkness, blinding us. Stunned by the long journey, stiff, hungry, frightened, desperate, everyone tried to jump out of the railroad cars. The cold was terrible. It froze our faces, hands, and feet. We were chilled to the bone. Mothers held their babies tightly in their arms. and the older children clung to their skirts. The Germans shouted out orders. "All the children, the elderly, the ill, and the women, go to this side." That side? There were trucks waiting there. They stopped my father, who was about to push us towards the crowds going to the trucks. The SS men asked him, "Are you and your wife the ones who speak German?" "Yes," answered father, and added, "My children also speak very good German." The SS man sized us up and asked solemnly, "How old are they?" This time father made us 2 or 3 years older, insisting, "They are 17 and 18. "Wait here until I come back," the SS man told us. People continued to get into the trucks, which, as soon as they were full, drove off. Where were they going? We had no idea. How many tragic scenes remain unforgettable in my mind. Mothers whose children were taken away running after them so they wouldn't be separated. Old people calling to a child who remained behind. They snatched a young woman's baby by force and pushed her to the other side. Screams, sobs, farewells, and the smartly dressed SS men shouting and raging in their midst. Suddenly all was silent. Nearly all the people were gone, only a few men and women remained. The SS men formed them into columns. They ordered them to march. "Forward! March! Faster! Get moving!" We heard them shouting until we lost sight of them. Only the 4 of us remained. Everything had happened so quickly. All the people who got off the train had disappeared with the trucks. None of our traveling companions were there anymore. There was just us and some SS men. The silence was overwhelming in the dark night.
Ada's parents managed to flee to Switzerland, but Eva was captured and sent to Auschwitz with her grandparents. They were murdered there. Erica and her mother survived various camps, and after the Holocaust they managed to find her brother and father, who had also survived. 6 million Jews were murdered on European soil between 1939 and 1945 in concentration camps and death camps, in forests, by starvation, hard labor, and disease.
Deep in your heart is where I reside. Listen, you hear all the tears that I've cried. I am the soul of millions who died before you were given your birth. Part of your being, a piece of your past. The women and children so brutally gassed. This is my legacy, please make it last. Go tell all the people on earth. Memories as they grow older tend to grow colder and then disappear. The burden is now on your shoulder. You have a message, you must make them hear. Please never forget me. I am a spirit that must live on. Though you never met me, you must remember me now that I'm gone. Nothing has changed, I can still feel the hate. Suffering in silence, you're tempting your fate. You must speak out now before it's too late. You can't close your eyes and pretend. Think of the grandfather you never kissed. All of the relatives that you have missed. Raise up your voice and then raise your fist and tell the world never again. Memories as they grow older tend to grow colder and then disappear. The burden is now on your shoulder. You have a message, you must make them hear. I am a spirit that must live on. Though you never met me, you must remember me now that I'm gone. Memories as they grow older tend to grow colder and then disappear. The burden is now on your shoulder. You have a message, you must make them hear.
Although most survivors were able to rebuild their lives after the war, for some survivors, the trauma of the Holocaust outweighed the ability to create a new life. Feelings of loss, guilt, despair, and emptiness left no room to speak. Most of the survivors were the only ones who survived their families and sometimes even their communities. Upon release, the survivors realized the magnitude and intensity of the disaster that befell them. They were lonely in the world and had to rebuild their lives.
Helena Birnbaum, Holocaust survivor, describes her life that started from the end. My life started from the end. First I have known death, then birth. I was growing amidst hatred, in the kingdom of destruction, only to learn later about creation. Breathing bleakness, fires, deterioration of feeling. Only then have I seen the light. Only then have I flourished. I have always known love, even when it was terrible, or worse. Love was there even in hell. I have encountered it. My life began from the end, and just then, everything returned to the beginning. I was resurrected. It was all not in vain. Not in vain. Because goodness is not less powerful than evil. In me is strength too. I am the proof.
Danya Rosen was 12 years old when she hid in the forest after her family was murdered. Danya survived and immigrated to Israel. The following are words she wrote in her diary. Words fail me, but I must write. I must. I ask you not to forget the deceased. I beg and implore you to avenge our blood, to take vengeance upon the ruthless criminals whose cruel hand has deprived us of our very lives. I ask you to build a memorial in our names, a monument reaching up to the heavens that the entire world might see. Not a monument of marble or stone, but one of good deeds, for I believe with full and perfect faith that only such a monument can promise you and your children a better future.